So let's take a look at what the Legal Eagle had to say about this verdict.
We have a verdict in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
Now, I'll just say this much straight up. As a content creator on the internet, my analysis on the situation is going to revolve around the negative feedback and the backlash that you receive. Even if you go against the grain being that like Johnny Depp is a infallible, perfect human being who was abused by the tyrant and abusive psycho Amber Heard, obviously. Like, if you don't say that, people will come up your ass and destroy you, okay? So while I do think that the Legal Eagle, given what he had said in the past about this case, and given what he liked on Twitter, and given what his opinion is, as a person with like a little bit of fucking legal knowledge, you know, a lot more than the average person, might not actually show his true perspective in this circumstance. He will probably take the most centrist position he can. I'm just going to say it. Maybe it's not the case, but we can take a look at it.
And like everything in the trial itself.
But part of it is literally because, you know, people are unreasonable and psychotic about this case on the internet. And they are also betraying the seriousness of the case by behaving in the way that they are behaving.
It's controversial. The jury ruled in favor of Johnny Depp in his libel suit against Amber Heard. Depp sued his former wife for writing about being a domestic abuse victim because he said he never abused her. The jury awarded Depp $15 million in damages, $10 million in compensatory damages, and $5 million in punitive damages. The jury also ruled in favor of Amber Heard on one of her counterclaims against Depp. She alleged that Depp directed a smear campaign against her, having his ex-lawyer saying she fabricated the evidence of her abuse. The jury awarded her $2 million in compensatory damages and nothing in punitives. So at the end of the day, they both win. Hooray! No, but seriously, how can they both have defamed each other? Let's dig into this verdict. Now, first of all, and I hate that I have to say this, no one is going to jail. This is a civil case, and no one is guilty. People are liable in a civil case. They are not guilty or not guilty, despite what some putative law professor has said. This is a civil trial. There's no guilt.
Wait, what?
Despite
very odd development, the judge sent back the jury to fill out the form of damages. It is not clear why that would be the case unless they found defamation. Otherwise, it seems odd to force a jury to state damages without finding of guilt.
What some putative law professor has said.
Depp was only found guilty for the statement of his agent. The jury also received any punitive award for that agent with the reduction. Depp can walk away with $10,300,000. Again, the court can consider a reduction of the award.
Civil trial. There's no guilt involved. Now, in fairness, about half the states do have a criminal defamation statute, including Virginia, but this is not one of those cases. It's just two people suing each other. The state is not involved. But as you probably know, here we have two public figures suing each other for defamation, and when you have celebrities, you generally have a higher standard of proof to make your claim. The law makes it difficult for public people to win a defamation suit, even if a published story contains inaccuracies. In order for a public figure to win, the jury has to find that the defendant made statements about them with actual malice. Actual malice means knowledge of the falsity, or at a minimum, a reckless disregard for the truth of the statement. It has nothing to do with animosity. Now, as you probably know, Amber Heard wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post that contained these sentences. Quote, "Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. And, quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse." Now, Johnny Depp challenged these sentences and also the headline written by the Washington Post itself. Quote, "Amber Heard, I spoke up about sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." Depp sued Heard, alleging these sentences were defamatory. And during closing arguments, Heard's lawyer told the jury that if they believe Depp abused her even one time, that he cannot prove defamation.
If Amber was abused by Mr. Depp even one time, then she wins.
Now, during deliberations, the jury had to evaluate the evidence that they heard over the
Like, if that's the case, then, like, you know, this is a false fucking, this is a 5 male, 2 female jury that was not sequestered. One of the fucking jurors quite literally said that his wife texted him, stating what, like that Amber Heard was a psycho. He mentioned that and was still allowed to stay on the jury, and that is the reason why. The deliberation went the way it did, right? The verdict in and of itself, considering that there was mutual abuse from my point of view, okay, and not just my point of view, but my point of view that is backed by the marriage counselor that was one of the most reliable fucking expert witnesses that offered expert testimony, plus also their professional analysis on the situation, implies that Johnny Depp also hit Amber Heard. His own words, imply that he hit Amber Heard, which is why it was part of the reason why this was a shocking fucking verdict. Do I think that Johnny Depp was still the primary victim of abuse in this circumstance? Yes, I do. That's why I always said 30-70, 30-70, 30% Johnny Depp, 70% Amber Heard. Implication does not equal proof. Dog, it's not the implication. It is quite literally Johnny Depp's own words of him being a monster and admitting it and apologizing for it. If you can recognize that Amber Heard admitted on a phone conversation to Johnny Depp that he hit him, but like didn't hit him that hard and he was a pussy, you should be able to understand the exact same thing on the other side, unless there's some other motivating reasons. You're just scared to say it's 50-50? No, because I don't think it's 50-50. Because the reason why I don't think it's 50-50 is because there was only one party that according to, again, their marriage counselor, according to their couples counselor who testified on the fucking stand, was trying to routinely keep the arguments going and would escalate to a form of physical violence. Did not shy away from that escalation. Okay? He never said he hit her, though. Saying he was a monster doesn't mean equals I hit her. No, the people that were there were apologizing for his behavior. Come on, guys. You're huffing on fucking copium. Like, you're literally huffing on fucking copium, okay? If you think that Johnny Depp didn't hit Amber Heard, didn't kick Amber Heard on the fucking private jet. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. I don't even care about Johnny Depp being like, let's burn this fucking cunt or whatever the fuck in text messages. Like, he's obviously at that point really fucking pissed off and this is like past the relationship ending. This is like in a situation where he's like, fuck this person, she ruined my fucking life. That's what he's texting to his friends. Why would Amber take pics from 2013? Did she make this plan in 2013 to shot? Yeah, like there are instances where like Amber Heard did actually fucking get there is truth to what Amber Heard was saying, okay? But also there was also a lot of lies that Amber Heard told on the stand, okay? Conflicting testimony with respect to like actual not expert witnesses, but like people even on Amber Heard's side. Given the severity of the abuse that she was accusing Johnny Depp of committing, and also the conflicting evidence that came out from like the people that were involved, not the people that were directly involved, but people that like saw Amber Heard, including the fucking medical professional that's her fucking friend. It's really hard to come to that point that it's really hard to believe what she's saying, that like she actually was fucking brutalized so severely that her nose broke and that, you know, she had 2 black eyes and shit like that. Okay. So that paired up with how bad her fucking legal team was, paired up with how much people love Johnny Depp, created this situation where like she lost a fucking 100% almost impossible to lose defamation case.
6-week trial and apply the jury instructions given to them by the judge. With Depp's defamation claims, they were looking at instruction C, which you can see here. So the jury had to decide whether Heard made or republished any of these statements. These were false statements, whether they harmed his reputation, and whether Amber Heard acted with actual malice. They answered yes. Yes, she said or republished these words. Yes, they were false, and yes, they hurt his reputation. The jury likely decided everything that Amber Heard said about abuse was false and that she did it with reckless disregard for the truth. And as a result, Johnny Depp sustained about $15 million in damages, $10 million in compensatory damages, which is meant to compensate him for the damage that he actually suffered, as well as $5 million in punitives, that is to punish Amber Heard for her statements. Now, the judge cut the punitives down to $350,000, bringing the total to $10.35 million. Now, those are obviously large numbers, but it kind of makes sense in the context of Johnny Depp. He is a famous movie star, and he alleges, probably truthfully, that these allegations have really hurt his career and hurt his ability to make millions and millions of dollars. So it's entirely possible that he lost $10 million as a result of the statements that Amber Heard made against him. And given the general nature of Heard's statements, the fact that the jury found in Depp's favor probably means that the jury likely didn't believe any of Heard's substantive claims of abuse. Now, some have argued that Heard got a raw deal because her column did not mention Depp by name. But Depp successfully argued that it was an example of what's called defamation by implication, because,
by the way, that is also fucking bullshit. Like, come on, you were talking about Johnny Depp. Obviously, you were talking about fucking Johnny Depp, dude. Like, that's crazy. Like, you're not making a broader point about like, sexual harassment or sexual violence and the way that you're mistreated, or the way that like victims are mistreated, just because you didn't mention Johnny Depp by fucking name, but where you're very obviously mentioning Johnny Depp. Like that, and then she also literally admitted it in court too, so it doesn't matter unless she was like, yeah, I'm talking about Elon and James Franco, which that's not the case. No one fucking thinks that Elon Musk or James Franco sexually abused her or abused her in any capacity. She never actually came out against them, you know what I mean?
Parts of the column referred to the allegations of abuse that she made against him following their breakup in 2016. And it's probably fair to say that the general public knew about Heard's connection to Depp, and that they would have assumed that the allegations made in the op-ed referred to Depp because of that connection, and that she was directing those statements at Johnny Depp. And there's plenty of law on this.
I don't trust the person who's friends with tons of abusers, in my opinion, law. Bro, they're in Hollywood. What are you talking about? I mean, I agree with you, but like, both parties are friends with tons of abusers by nature of their job, okay? There is not a person in Hollywood that's like, oh man, I have no friends that are abusers. Like, what? What do you mean, dude? You're in Hollywood. Hello? Like, it's just like, good luck. Good luck finding a person that is not a pedophile or abuser if you are in this industry.
This is not unusual for a defamation by implication case. And that takes us to Amber Heard's counterclaims. You'd think that if Heard defamed Depp, then they would dismiss Heard's claims and that would be the end of the story. But what fun would that be? As you know, the jury also found that Depp defamed Heard, but it looks like that relates to a statement only tangentially related to the main abuse statements. Now, after Depp sued Heard in 2021, she filed a counterclaim against him. She said that Depp directed his ex-lawyer, Adam Waldman, to make defamatory statements about her, including these three. Statement A, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media used fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and a shield depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as a sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Statement B, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first step didn't do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed up the place, got their stories straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911. Statement C, quote, we have reached the beginning of the end of Miss Heard's abuse hoax against Mr. Depp. And the jury reviewed the evidence and, with respect to at least one of these statements, believed that that was the case. Specifically, they decided that statement B.
It's such a weird centrist take, by the way, because like they really fucking fired off. They really fired off on the tiniest bit of like counter as wow, that's defamation, while simultaneously like overlooking, I think, in my opinion, credible fucking accusations that Amber Heard was making. In the broader majority of like the Amber Heard trial, in most of the circumstances, in the instances, if you especially pair it up with like testimony from people that work with Johnny Depp, but testimony from people that work with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, when you look at situations like that, it's very hard to see Amber Heard as a credible witness to her own victimization, to her own abuse, right? But there were instances where like she was demonstrably, in my opinion, credible. Especially the private jet incident. But when you are talking about, is Hasanabi pro Amber Heard I just joined little? No. But when you're talking about like 14 incidents and some of them, like the most credible, supposedly the ones that have to be the most credible are the most incredible and hard to believe. Yeah, you're gonna lose credibility with the jurors, especially when paired up with your fucking horrible team of lawyers.
The long paragraph about a specific incident was false. The main facts about that incident were relayed to the jury by Heard and her friends, the very same people that the jury found had completely made up things in order to hurt Depp. Now, we'll need to hear from the jury to understand exactly what they were thinking, but we can presume that the jury reviewed the evidence and concluded that Amber Heard and her friends didn't orchestrate an abuse hoax on that occasion. Maybe they didn't spill wine or rough up the place. They didn't work with a lawyer or publicist. They might not have gotten their stories straight. If this is what the jury meant, then they could be claiming that the underlying incident is still based on a lie, but that Heard orchestrated the lie in a different way, or that she was lying about other things and not this thing. But at the end of the day, the jury awarded $2 million to Heard for this particular falsity. These same jurors probably found that she acted with actual malice in concocting a hoax that included fake bruises and fake tears and fake claims, and thus statements A and C were therefore not defamatory, only statement B, which referred to a very specific tangential incident. So both Depp and Heard were awarded awarded compensatory damages. These are things that are meant to compensate a plaintiff to be in the same position that they would be if they weren't injured. Things like financial losses, medical bills, lost income, and reduced earning potential. And a damage award can also consider non-monetary losses as well, like emotional pain or physical pain, loss of companionship. All of those would be considered compensatory damages. But Johnny Depp was awarded punitive damages as well, which are designed to warn others and punish this particular defendant. They are assessed when a jury wants to punish someone who acted totally outside the bounds of appropriate conduct. And they're only available in Virginia if the defendant has acted wantonly, oppressively, or with such malice as to evince a spirit of malice or criminal indifference to civil obligations. But in Virginia, punitive damages are capped at $350,000 by statute. Now, the jury found that Amber Heard had defamed Johnny Depp and that her conduct satisfied the very high standard for punitive damages. Now, they awarded him a lot of money, $5 million in punitive damages, but the judge reduced that damages award to $350,000 as required by statute. Now, the jury wouldn't have known that going into deliberations. That's to make sure that they don't.
I really hate this case because I hate this case because I feel like it brought out the worst in both sides. I hate it because like people will say like, oh, both sides five head, like you're centrist, whatever. But like it really did, dude. It made so many people on the left come across like incredibly fucking out of touch with reality. It made so many people on, obviously, Johnny Depp's side be even more pathological and more misogynistic than they actually fucking were originally. But, like, holy shit, dude. Like, everyone is just unironically like, no, this is my thing. I have this opinion. I have a very strong opinion on this matter. And fuck you if you don't agree with it. When it's a circumstance that is so fucking not black and white. Or at the very least, if you're going to say black and white, like it's a situation where like, yeah, both parties conducted some level of fucking abusive behavior. It kills me, especially because like Amber Heard's testimony across the board is perfect. Okay? It's literally perfect. If only a couple fucking things were different, like other witnesses involved in the relationship, other people that were around in this duration, it's literally perfect. It would be perfectly aligned with the experiences that so many people go through, so many women go through. Okay? What I mean by that is, and I will describe to you, abuse in relationships, and think about it from the perspective of Johnny Depp. Okay? If you're on Johnny Depp's side in this situation, you will recognize that abuse is usually invisible. Okay? Abuse is usually invisible. It's not very easy to see. Plenty of domestic abuse victims hide their abuse. They put makeup on. They blame themselves. Okay? That is the reality, which is precisely why this becomes an incredibly complex situation to analyze. Okay? And that goes for women and men. People routinely fucking stay in abusive relationships. They hide their injuries. They lie to their fucking friends. They don't fucking set up like they don't try to like set evidence up for the future when you do have an inevitable abuse case or anything like that. People hide it for the most part. Okay? Which is why in a he said, she said situation, which is why the reason why so many people are like, even if they're credible fucking domestic abuse victims right now, they're terrified of coming out and saying anything about it. Because even if they are actual victims of abuse, even if they're like legitimate victims of abuse, like there are so many underlying systemic hurdles to overcome. Okay? There are so many underlying systemic hurdles to overcome, and it's all ultimately very difficult to prove. The cops ultimately are not very good at dealing with abuse instances. Okay? They're not very good at that. They're not good at dealing with domestic violence, notoriously, right? Which is why I say, like, for so many people who are victims of abuse or so many people who are woke, they look at Amber Heard and refuse to see anything but a victim. They refuse to see Amber Heard as anyone but a victim because it corresponds so perfectly with, like, real victims and everything we've learned about the Me Too movement and everything we've tried to push for to unlearn with respect to the Me Too movement. Like the believe women concept revolves around not immediately believing women across the board in the way that like reactionaries say. It doesn't mean that like women are incapable of telling a lie. It just means don't reflexively disbelieve women. Why was this a necessity? Why was there this kind of attitude shift? Why were people pushing for this? Because automatically people would reflexively disbelieve women. And they still do. There are plenty of people who still do. So I do understand why so many people are like, no, Amber Heard was a victim. She was a perfect victim and Johnny Depp fucking destroyed her and you're a piece of shit. You're a misogynist for fucking even mentioning that Johnny Depp was abused and like everything is slanted against women in this system, because everything is slanted against women in this system. That systemic reality is true, okay? Everything is slanted against victims in general in this system. And more often than not, it's at least women in the hands of men, right? But having said that, the inverse of that can happen. And in my opinion, in this situation at least, there is enough evidence to show that the inverse of that did happen to a certain degree. Johnny Depp was not a perfect victim in this circumstance. He also was abusive as well. He was toxic. He was emotional. He was a wreck. He was going in and out of addiction issues that were made worse ultimately by the shitty relationship that he was in, okay? And by the end of the relationship, he tried to get away from this relationship, and it got even worse every time he tried to get away. Okay, he's a fucking annoying theater kid, which is ultimately, something that you also need to, I think, factor in. I'm sorry, Johnny Depp simps. I don't think he's like a, very cool guy, but that doesn't change the reality that I do believe he was a victim of domestic abuse and domestic violence in the hands of Amber Heard. That's the reason why it's very difficult to have like a completely one-sided approach. Okay, it's incredibly difficult to have a one-sided approach. In my opinion, it's disingenuous to have a one-sided Amber Heard is in the right or Johnny Depp is in the right approach to this. And that's why I always go back to the marriage counselor, the relationship counselor, the therapist that gave her testimony in the beginning of the trial, claiming that there was mutual abuse in this relationship and that Amber Heard kept amping it up throughout the relationship and would not shy away from escalating to physical acts in an effort to keep Johnny Depp in the relationship and also in the altercation, in the conversation. And that was also perfectly collaborated or corroborated by Amber Heard's own fucking testimony, her own statements on record, on phone conversations, where she admitted to hitting Johnny Depp, where she basically gaslit Johnny Depp by saying no one will believe you. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, okay? I'm not. Like, this is a really fucking unique and really complex situation that everybody has incredibly strong opinions on. How many times are you wrong a day? I don't know, dude. The only time I'm right is when I'm fucking clapping your mother's ass cheeks at night when she says, "You are so right for fucking me so hard." Might get a lot wrong, but that's the one thing I get right. Also, you're grounded. Take a minute off. I'm your stepfather, but also the father that stepped up. Anyway, what I was trying to say is this. If you have abused your partner, but then you go on a conquest to say that you are the sole victim in this toxic, abusive relationship, and you use the media and you write fucking articles and shit, like you basically get ahead of the narrative, you get ahead of the curve and be like, yo, you are literally like, that my partner was the abusive one. I was not, certainly. And it comes out that is not the case. Yeah, you're going to get fucked. It's just the truth. If you fucking write about how like you're a victim of domestic violence and abuse in the hands of your abusive partner, and you go and you defend the son in the United Kingdom in a fucking court case that's like not even directly about you, okay? And you do all of that, and then you turn around and write an article for the fucking Guardian about how you're like a victim, you're sole victim of domestic abuse, and then there's plenty of people who are like, hold on, that's not the case actually. Like, you were pretty fucking shitty. You were pretty shitty, and you did all this shit. And then even people on your side who are supposed to be on your side are like, well, I didn't actually see any bruises in this circumstance. Like, I'm a medical professional. Then yeah, you're going to not look credible on the stand. What the fuck are you doing? And people don't actually want to, I don't know. People don't actually want to see that. But of course, there's a lot of turfs and swerves involved in the Amber Heard side too. I'm sorry to say this. Maybe some people are male feminists, female feminists, like people who are just like really overboard with the narrative that like completely have been like, there's no way in any case that like a man as cringy and as toxic and as fucking silly as Johnny Depp could not be an abuser. He's friends with fucking Marilyn Manson after all, who is also an abuser, right? Like, there's no way. It sounds great. And then on the other hand, you have like someone like Amber Heard, who is a woman. Okay, she's a bisexual woman. She probably did get fucking abused. Like, come on, it's very, very real. I mean, look, And then you jump on this fucking bandwagon, or you jump on this narrative, and you're just like, yeah, no, I'm totally 100% on the side of Amber Heard. And anyone who's like even questioning this main narrative, questioning this media narrative, is like actually a fucking violent, misogynist piece of shit, are forgetting the fact that like Amber Heard is literally friends with Barry Weiss and is dating like Eve Barlow and some of the worst fucking weirdos on the internet. Like, the fuck are you doing? Elon Musk. I mean, come on, dude. Anyway, let's continue.
Shift all of the punitive damages into the compensatory
James
damages
Franco.
award. But after the verdict was reached, the judge capped the amount that was required by law. Tangentially, you might also hear lawyers referring to the State Farm standard, where punitive damages are capped as a matter of constitutional law. That's a Supreme Court case. That doesn't apply here. There was a specific statute in Virginia that limited punitive damages to $350,000. That doesn't really implicate the State Farm Supreme Court case. That being said, after the punitive damages were capped, Johnny Depp was entitled to $10.35 million. Though Amber Heard was awarded $2 million in compensatory damages related to the Statement B that we just talked about, netting Johnny Depp $8.35 million at the end of the day. So what's next? Can Johnny Depp sue the Washington Post? Well, sure, but it's incredibly unlikely that he'd win. You can sue anyone for anything at any time, but there's no reason to believe that the Washington Post would have known of the falsity of the statements. And on top of that, the Washington Post simply published Amber Heard's article. The only part of the article that was written by the Washington Post was the headline, Amber Heard, I spoke up about sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, which more or less summarizes the things that Amber Heard actually said. So good luck proving knowledge of falsity or recklessness with respect to the truth by the Washington Post itself. Though given that the article is still online, Depp might sue for an injunction to take that article down. But by that same token, could Amber Heard sue the ACLU? The Washington Post published Heard's op-ed, but the ACLU helped her write it. Heard had promised to
I think one of the sussiest parts about this is the ACLU. And I say this as like someone who's donated to them a lot. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what are you doing? You're the ACLU and you're like helping someone write a fucking op-ed like this? You're not even doing your due diligence. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? What are you doing?
donate $7 million from her divorce settlement to two charities, including the ACLU, and so far she's only paid the ACLU part of that money. Could she claim that they did a bad job of ghostwriting the op-ed? Maybe negligence? Well, again, you can sue anyone for anything at any time. Sure, this is theoretically possible, but it would be extremely complicated and probably doomed, though more tenuous arguments have been made. Maybe Heard will use it to try and claw back some of her donation. Who knows? Complete speculation. But what about an appeal of the jury's verdict? Amber Heard has vowed to appeal, and even though Depp was also found to have defamed Heard, Depp was not surprisingly very pleased with the verdict. Depp said that Heard's op-ed changed his whole life in the blink of an eye, but that the jury had given his life back. Now, Heard was not pleased with the verdict and said that she was heartbroken that the mountain of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. However, there is a really interesting wrinkle with respect to Amber Heard's potential appeal. Virginia law section 16.1-107 states, quote, no appeals shall be allowed unless and until the party applying for the same or someone for him shall give bond in an amount and with sufficient surety approved by the judge or by his clerk, if there is one, or in an amount sufficient to satisfy the judgment of the court. So in other words, for Amber Heard to be able to appeal, she has to post a bond for the entire amount of the judgment, millions of dollars. And that's no fun. And although people talk about what precedent this verdict sets, what lawyers mean by precedent is different from how regular people often use that word. In the law, precedent is set by published judicial opinions. Legally speaking, jury verdicts don't set any precedent whatsoever. You can't cite to the Amber Heard case and hope that some other jury or judge will follow it. But if the case goes up on appeal and there is a written opinion, that opinion would have precedential effect, which is one reason
I'll be back.
Potentially the parties might settle before the appeal is completed. They might just do it to get rid of uncertainty with what the Court of Appeal might or might not do.